Romans chapter 10. Righteousness based on law versus faith. Many read Romans chapter 10 and walk away thinking that keeping the law of Yahweh is in opposition to having faith in Yeshua for our salvation. So let's take a look. Paul first mentioned there being a righteousness based on keeping the law in Romans 10:5. It says, "For Moses writes about the righteousness that is based on the law, that the person who does the commandments shall live by them." Then Paul goes on to mention a type of righteousness based not on works, but in faith, believing that Yeshua is the Messiah. Romans 10:6. But the righteousness based on faith says, verse 9, "If you confess with your mouth that Yeshua is Master, and believe in your heart that Elohim raised him from the dead, you will be saved." Verse 10, "For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved." So at first glance, it seems like Paul is saying, you either try and keep the law to get saved, or you put your faith in Yeshua to get saved. And this is why so many Sunday Christians are hostile to the idea of keeping the seventh-day Sabbath or the kosher laws, for they assume it's an attempt to earn salvation outside of Yeshua. But let's take another perspective of how we should read Romans 10. When Paul mentioned living by the law in Romans 10:5, he was referring to Leviticus 18 verse 5, which says, "You shall therefore keep my statutes and my rules. If a person does them, he shall live by them. I am Yahweh." Now this could be read as saying, you must keep the law in order to be saved. But I believe the more proper way to read this is, Torah observance is your new day-by-day lifestyle once you put your faith or trust in Yahweh. Now this helps us see Romans 10 a lot better. How so? First, Paul mentions in Romans 10:5 that a type of righteousness that calls us to live out the law day by day is what we do once we have faith. This can also be called sanctification. Now, Paul later on mentions in verse 6 through 10 a type of righteousness for salvation that comes by faith in Yeshua. This is what saves you. This is known as justification. So again, Paul was not putting keeping the law in opposition to faith in Yeshua in order to earn salvation, as some Christians teach. Instead, he was differentiating two types of righteousness. Justification by faith in Yeshua. This is what gets you saved. Romans 10:13, "For everyone who calls on the name of Yahweh will be saved." And then he mentions sanctification, keeping the law day by day, once you're already saved. This keeping of the Torah is the response to our salvation in Yeshua, and not the cause of our salvation. I hope this helps. Hallelujah. Also, I hope the series through Romans helps you understand Paul better from a Hebraic Torah observant lens, which I believe Paul was in his day. Please share your thoughts below. Thank you, and shalom.